So I obviously went to my closest friends and industry friends, saying, Pravesh, this is suicidal. It looks unrealistic. You cannot do all this. Your career is at stake. They were very, very specific about not allowing me to take risks in life. Like, why do you need this? Including my parents also. Like, why do you get into this? Just be at a safe place because you may end up losing everything which you've earned.
Welcome to the bonus episode of Season 1 of Millionaire Mondays, the show where we bring you the stories of real Indian startups told by the entrepreneurs that built them. I'm Caleb Friesen, and on the show today, how Pravesh Pandey took a successful career as the intrapreneur behind social and parlayed it into setting up Bengaluru's iconic Byg Brewski, as well as India's first ever craft house, Roxie. Pravesh Pandey started his career cleaning cups. He worked behind the bar doing menial tasks, but over the years, he climbed the ladder of the hospitality industry from being a guest service coordinator at ITC Hotels to being the head waiter at P&O Cruises. It was on one of these cruises that he met a very important woman in his life, Roxie Cataneo, and he'll talk more about her in the podcast, but eventually he worked his way up to the director of operations for Hard Rock Cafe in North India. And this was a position that left a lasting impression on him because of the company's mottos. Love all, serve all is one, save the planet, and take time to be kind. He brought these ideas with him to Impresario in 2015, where under the leadership of Riaz Amlani, he pioneered a new restaurant chain called Social Offline. Social's first location was on Church Street in Bengaluru, and it became a huge success, so much so that it became Impresario's flagship brand. However, as innovative and original as Social was, Pravesh's ambitions eventually exceeded the limits of what Impresario could offer him.
With Social, it was a fabulous opportunity because the brand itself was so fresh and so new and innovative, and everything was sort of reinvented into the wheel. The reinvention happened so well in Social that every element was done differently.
I met my wife at Social, by the way.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, in House Cause. That was where we had our first date.
Well, that was the mission was when the net is working, people are not networking, and offline social was the idea of bringing people together. So luckily, yeah, things happened. There are many stories like that. And I told Riaz that, I want to do something bigger and better. And I didn't intend to sort of start something all by myself because I knew that I need someone financially strong with that kind of exposure and experience who can complement me. I showed him this beautiful property on Residency Road, which was which is currently the Samsung house. It was an opera house earlier. And I said, Riaz, let's do a bigger social here. Let's do an anti-social here. We can do a microbrewery. And by then, Riaz was more into opening smaller formats and scaling the business up, of course, because the need of the business was to open more outlets, to raise investments. But he did offer me something very interesting. He said, why don't you run Mocha, the brand, which was once upon a time a fabulous brand. And I was like, no, that's not my cup of tea. I need to be in the bar scene. And this whole thing, which was constantly itching in my mind that you have to start something of your own and you have to create something of your own and not live a life where I'm regretting that I did not design something by myself, was bothering me. And I kept telling to Riaz, how is it possible for me to start up everything by myself? He said, you don't need to. You have to just be around and there's a great future for you in the organization. He especially flew down and came and met me in Bangalore. And I was like, I don't know, but somewhere my heart is not allowing me to be an employee for a longer time. Somewhere it needs to end and I need to start taking that fearless decision of creating something by myself. So this whole conversation was going on back and forth. And luckily, a friend of mine told me that there is this brewery in Sarjapur called Byg Brewski. They are looking at someone who can operationally help them streamline their systems and processes because they're struggling. So I met the then founder, promoter Ajay, Fantastic guy, like the kind of visionary guys I love to work with, and I surround myself with such people. I just loved it. And I walked into this restaurant in Sarjapur and I said, wow, what a beautiful place it is. How can someone build a restaurant like this? I've never seen. Very unconventional. I was waiting for him to come and have a coffee with me. So we sat down and he said, what are you going to do for us? I said, I don't know. I'm just coming here to sit and talk. What is it that you want from me? He said, I'm an operator myself. I can run the business, but somebody asked me to meet you and just discuss this whole thing together. Over the coffee conversation, we realized that uh, a lot of systems were missing. And I always wanted to or understand how can one run a restaurant first with the help of system, which is process and people, and then can scale that business with the help of that system, because that's what businessmen do. They create a system and the system works for them, which is the people and the process, and that's how they earn wealth. So I told him I don't want to join one outlet. I'm already handling multiple socials. Let's do something better and bigger. Let me help you with streamlining this business of Byg Brewski with help of systems and people and process. When you start something bigger or better, I will definitely love to come along with you. And it took about 1.5 years that we kept constantly talking about it. And then there was this day on 5th September 2017 where Ajay said that let's do something big together, and we are going to start Asia's biggest microbrewery. And I was like, yeah, this is exactly what I was thinking about. Where are we going to do this? And he said there is this place called Hennur, and I was like, I've never heard about this place, Hennur. Where is this? I mean, never heard. He said it's about 20 minutes from Manyata Tech Park, and I was like, let's go and see. Um, uh, it was really far. We kept driving, and it was very far. But because there were other partners in the company like Prem, he's a great guy especially with an experience of real estate. He knew that North Bangalore is the future, and that happened. And I I thoroughly enjoyed this concept of doing Asia's biggest microbrewery. There was a lot of hesitation in me also, because one side you are sitting on a fat salaried job. You have a great career path ahead. I mean, I could have possibly become the COO in 3 to 4 years, running a brand which is so popular across India. Maybe I would have got ESOPs. But somewhere I did not want to pursue a, a dream which is not mine. I knew what I wanted to do.
The first location of Byg Brewski, as you said, the original way of pronouncing it.
Yeah.
When you came in and just took a look around, what were some of the because you said they were kind of struggling, right?
Yeah.
Why were they struggling? What were the problems that were there that over the next couple of years, you and the rest of the promoters there were able to kind of iron out and actually grow this into something that could scale?
See, from a promoter's point of view, it's difficult to understand what's going on the shop floor, which is predominantly the culture, team, how they're behaving, the lack of training, food quality, the audits which can strengthen the quality process, designs of the bar and the kitchen, ergonomically so badly designed.
Oh, it's different from the way it is now?
Yeah, of course, it was very different. So a lot of these things ended up into creating an environment which was functioning, but functioning without a clear vision. The quality of the food was challenging. The bar was not designed, so the guys were not working in the bar. It was very compact. And the team lacked a leadership. Plus the Byg Brewski branding was not aligned with what you're trying to do in terms of a brewery, right? So when I saw the first logo, which was a smiley face with two horns on the top, we realized that something is not aligned. We're trying to say that you're a brewery. Brewery is supposed to be a heavy duty, masculine brand where people are coming and drinking big mugs of beers, and then you are doing something very cartoonish, though the story was of seven monsters coming together on this planet Earth and brewing something, but it was not still relatable to people. The persona of the brand was not aligned with what we were actually projecting it to be. So yeah, we worked a lot, and that's where the Brew Sky became the Brewski, and Big becomes BYG. The story of BYG came from this Nordic mythology of a guy called Big Veer, whose name is spelled as BYG VEER, Big Veer. He was the first person who started brewing meads, right? So, and this is a 7 feet tall guy with helmets and spears and beard, and that's the personality of a brewery, and that's how it is supposed to be. An ill-mannered guy. He is the one who is, changing nations because of what he's creating, and that's where Byg Brewski took the persona and inculcated in the cultural values of the brand. I mean, this is the logo of Byg Brewski.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Bring it up there.
Yeah.
I can see he's got the beard, got
The
the
beard, the
helmet.
helmet, and it's the hops and the barley malt which is on the helmet, but the hops is the representation of the beard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that.
So there were 3 logos given to 4 partners, and 2 of them loved it, this particular, and the other 2 were very Singapore style, fine, the vertical fonts. And I said, this is not happening. It's like a tower, Manhattan bar. No, it's not. This is definitely not close. And there was a lot of to and fro which happened on this, almost a 9 hours discussion of why this should be, it looks good. It's a logo which you can put on your body as a tattoo, right? Versus something very straight with letters. So yeah, a lot of people were inclined towards making it a very clean and niche brand, but I thought going back to the roots and bringing something which is forgotten has more brand pull than just trying to be very modern and classy. The more you go back into the history, the more people like to know about. It's like the discovery of sorts. You're trying to dig deeper into the past to figure out why in present you're doing something which is so cool for the future, right? So it's connecting the past to present and the future. And I think that story really worked very, very well, very well. And the whole place was designed keeping in mind that it is a Nordic mansion which is broken and exposed bricks with lime salts and arches which were designed, and then we broke it to give that feel. The walls were very rough. So that's the kind of story which we brought together. So that was the story of how Byg Brewski came into existence, and the biggest challenge, how to bring customers inside it, because everybody was talking about this whole question that it's okay that you guys are making such a big thing. Quite honestly, Salib, everybody told me not to get into this. Everyone.
I was going to say, because you're at Impresario,
Yeah.
everything's going well, and then
Yeah.
you jump into this business, which I'm not sure to what degree it
Yeah.
was struggling, but
Yeah.
confused brand.
Yeah.
And there's this whole, like you're playing like catch up, right? And you're sort of
Yes.
cleaning this thing up. And you're not, you're coming in after it's already started as well, right?
Yeah,
So I don't know. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I'll tell you. Some people, so I obviously went to my closest friends and industry friends, and saying, Pravesh, this is suicidal. First of all, there is no background of the company. Nobody knows what Byg Brewski is. It's one small, teeny restaurant in Sarjapur. They have never experienced failures, right? They are all very high on energy. They're all thinking everything is possible. It looks unrealistic. You cannot do all this. Your career is at stake. Some people told me you cannot leave a brand which is almost on the verge of becoming country's biggest brand. You are sitting at a safe place. Your personal branding is going to be amazing. People kept throwing questions on me. Also, a lot of, I don't want to name people, but then they were very, very specific about not allowing me to take risks in life. Like, why do you need this? Including my parents also. Like, why do you get into this? Just be at a safe place, because you may end up losing everything which you've earned. So I said, how does it matter? I can go back to employment once again. I have to put in everything, not just money, but my exposure. I think until I try, I will not succeed, I need to get out of my comfort zone. But the risk was huge. The risk was huge. My resume would have collapsed. And that's what the challenge was. I loved it. And I said, if everybody is saying that this is not possible, how can I make it possible? Why is it that everybody is saying negative things about this business model? If my partners are not exposed in running chain of restaurants, if they have not gone through such failures, why cannot I fill that gap?
Yeah. So, okay, so you create this brand, right? You're sort of revitalizing the first location, but going from that, that's already a challenge overcome, right? You've sort of done one big thing, but I feel like it's almost going out of the fire and into the frying pan by trying to create Asia's largest brew pub. Like, that is beyond ambitious, right? The reason why it's the largest is that no one else has even tried to accomplish something like this. And I can't imagine that it was an easy journey.
So many challenges.
Tell me, like, what was it like to start that location in?
So I was telling you about how to fill up large places. The biggest challenges in restaurant is to fill up, right? Customers, especially in space. So I told Ajay I want to travel to see some of the places, and so I went to Dubai. In Dubai Mall, there is Cheesecake Factory, which is huge. Wanted to see how they function in terms of processes, people. I went to a large place in Jaipur, which is called Chokidani, an Indian village, which does about 15 crores revenue per month. And it's packed. And it's like you're literally entering into an old village outskirts of Jaipur. And it's packed with camels and horses and shows. And it's like it takes you back to like 100 years ago. And it's packed all the time.
It's a restaurant, or
it's a restaurant primarily, but also an experience center.
Wow.
Yeah, you are supposed to sit under the big pergola where they will serve you food on the dried leaf plates. So, and then there's a lot of things to do. You're not just going to eat, but you pay for the food in advance. But there are ultimately there are multiple things which you can experience. There's a puppet show happening. There's a snake charmer. There is a tarot card reader. There is a parrot guy telling you about your future. So it's fun. It's fun. It's how real India, real Rajasthan is. So we understood that experience of the brand is the brand. It's not the food and the beverage. So we started discussing about this idea that if we focus on building a restaurant, then we are definitely failing. Because large restaurants cannot run just based on food and beverages. It needs to be an experience center. And what kind of experience can we offer when people are dining? So when I was in Dubai, we go from Dubai to Abu Dhabi for this whole Range Rover in the deserts. You're taking the safari, and in the night you're going and seeing this whole beautiful night safari with the guys really showcasing different art forms. And one guy will come with an eagle, then one guy will fly something in the air. So that is where I thought people get attracted if they have never seen what they have not seen before. And if you can create an experience like that, people will be attracted.
Almost like magical.
Magical. So we found out this agency in Dubai who started helping us with artists from Poland, Czechoslovakia. They were dancers. There were some of them were doing aerial acts, some of them were doing fire acts, some of them were like group dancers, some were with LED butterflies, a lot of magical stuff. We spent a lot of money, Saleb, in the first 6 months to make sure that it's not the food and beverage, it's the overall ambience. You're coming and experiencing a different world altogether. It's like a global platform where different artists are coming and performing. You are getting exposed to something in Bangalore, which perhaps could have been somewhere in Germany or somewhere in Dubai. These touristic cities offer you that kind of exposure. Even in Abu Dhabi, there is this place called Global Village, which I was quite impressed with. There is a confluence of multiple countries coming together with their cultures and food and beverages. So that was the idea of trying to build Byg Brewski as an experience center. And every weekend there was something or the other happening. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, there was some dance performance happening. But it was so large that even the dancers were looking too small. right? So we didn't want to put again LED screens because the idea was to do something very old and Nordic and Scandinavian mythologies. Where is this whole 60 feet LED screen coming in? So we tried to split the dancers into multiple places, into small. We wanted to get closer to the audience, not at one big stage. So that's where, and it's like 5 restaurants together. That's the challenge at Byg Brewski, that one guy doesn't have any idea what's happening on the fag end of the restaurant. So multiple artists going to smaller pockets in the restaurant, experiencing. There's a nightclub, there is a big bar, there is a dining space which is less on music. There's a premium first floor segment which is only meant for 35 years plus target audience. There's there's a stage performance happening, more like we used to call it Colosseum. So the stepwise seating. Then there was a section called Horizon, which is at the back of Byg Brewski, which is overlooking the sunset. So the challenge was to create experiences in each of these pockets, and that's where we got in dancers and performers, which really worked very well because people used to take out their mobiles, and that's a good sign, right? If anybody is taking out mobile to take a picture, it means social media wise you are going to go viral, right? And it's the compounding effect of that is so high, and the ripple effect is reaching out to more and more people automatically. Just by food and beverage, how much can you talk about? Everybody is talking about food porn, but nobody is talking about experience porn, right? So that's where the whole marketing, branding worked very well. This was one of the biggest challenges. The second challenge was to fill up the place on weekdays. Like, people in smaller restaurants can't bring in business. How do we get more people in a large place on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday?
And not in the center of the city.
And not in the center. So you're not in CBD, you're not next to office. For us, that was the biggest challenge. And I observed very keenly that 5-star hotels, they get massive business in banquets, large corporates going there. There is a conference happening, then there is post-conference dinner happening, there is annual functions happening. That was a breakthrough for us. We realized that if we hire a solid sales team, and restaurants doesn't have a sales team as such. Nowhere in India you will see that there are 5 to 6 people in the sales team hunting for business from different corporates. And for us to go to the corporates, the pitch was very simple. It's an experience which we are offering. We are not offering a buffet. It's an experience altogether where you have options to choose from in multiple themes. So you have Oscar themes, you've got tropical theme, you've got Scandinavian theme, you've got formal theme, you've got a nightclub where you can launch your product, you can do afternoon conferences. So I think that worked very well, and we started getting in more business from corporates on these weekdays. Right? And once the corporates came in here, they started going back and telling their friends and colleagues that, hey, even if it's 30 minutes drive, I must show you.
It's worth it.
It's worth it, right? And parallelly, the real estate business was booming in North Bangalore. Hennur, the airport road, everything was building up that side. So we quickly managed to hit revenues which we forecasted. In 6 months, we did the record sale in the country. We were so. Of course, we had to because the largest place, right? But the numbers which we were clocking was giving us so much of confidence that we have definitely hit our nail at the right place.
Wow. That's amazing. Hitting the nail on the head, which is something that most of the people who told you not to get into this would have never expected, right? That you would have such success in a relatively short span of time once you open that second location. I want to backtrack just a little bit though, because you talked about how it was so expensive, especially in the first 6 months, right?
Yeah.
And I would imagine just like getting the restaurant built in the first place is like, it's crazy. Even buying the land, even though it is on the outskirts of the city. And, you know, most of the people that we have on this podcast are in the startup world, right? So they'll go to like an Accel or a Sequoia or, you know, some of these like tech-oriented VC firms. I think restaurants don't have that same liberty, right? It's operating in a different space altogether. So is it out of your own pocket? Are you going to the bank and just getting a loan? Or are there some, like, how do you even like make this happen financially?
Yeah, so of course there were challenges in terms of raising funds, quite honestly. The initial project was just 18 crores, but it went way above it. And in the process, we realized that somewhere the financial planning was not done very well. The BOQs were not made, even though we had a lot of people together. But just the nature of building something ground up, where you are excavating the land and trying to make everything from basement and then erecting, things went wrong halfway.
And it's the first of its kind.
First
So
of its
whoever,
kind.
I don't know who you guys worked with to build the thing, but even they're kind of like out of their depth, I'm imagining.
I remember it was 28 months on-site construction to build Byg Brewski Henno. Every 3 months, every 4 months, we were contemplating, speculating how much more money do we need. And this money was not stopping. Like, the project was getting bigger and better, and we just did not want to compromise because you're all in now. You can't take any step back. You have to move forward. Luckily, my partners Ajay knew a lot of other friends. We tried reaching out to the banks, but it's not easy to get debts just like that. We wanted to make a company debt free. We wanted to get investments from people who understand. Also, they do not have too much interferences in the business. So slowly and steadily, the number of investors went a lot. I still don't have a count of how many people have invested. A lot of people came in with via references, with a ticket size of 2 to 3 crores. A lot of people came in, but luckily everybody has got their money back. They're happy. The outlet has done some fabulous revenues with some great EBITDA margins. But yeah, that was a big challenge because that's where we were just. I mean, there was a time when we did not know what to do. The cash flow had stopped. We did not know how to raise more funds. But with friends who have built relationships over the past, they came together and helped. Yeah, in restaurant VCs, they don't invest in restaurants. It's not a great space, and surprisingly, I don't know why, because the mortality rate of restaurants have been so high that the ones who are doing really well are not also getting easily funded, and that's the problem in India. Some of the best brands across the globe are from US: Starbucks, McDonald's, Burger King, Pizza Hut, Domino's, you name it, right? They're all from US because, and India doesn't have one apart from your Haldirams. Why is it that such a strong country, a nation with such strong heritage, plus the cuisine is so strong, you can definitely build brand which can make India proud and go to the international levels. So, yeah, I think
Yeah, Indian food, at least in the United States and Canada, is mom and pop restaurants for the most part, making butter chicken and naan, right? It's like doesn't really there's no even I'd never heard about Haldirams before coming to India. Maybe there's a presence in other countries that I'm not aware of, but mainly it's, people expand their restaurant to UAE, maybe Singapore, and that's about it. Right? It doesn't typically go into Europe, North America, Latin America. Like you don't see this global Australia, like this global presence. Why do you think that is? It's kind of disappointing. I'd love to see more of that in the future.
so. India as a developing country has got two challenges. One, that the people in India are not heavily skilled, and especially in restaurants, that's a challenge. You do not have skilled manpower. People often ask me this question: that how do you hire best people? And I say that in hospitality, you don't get best people. You get good people. You make them best. You train them, and that requires a lot of patience and time. You're just primarily dealing with a lot of blue-collared workforce, and some of the biggest brands like Barbecue Nation and Absolute Barbecue, which has exponentially expanded in the last decade or so, have got high attritions, and so does my restaurants as well. You can reduce the attrition, but there's a constant pressure of hiring skilled manpower. That's where US brands who have gone global emphasize a lot on training. India lacks that budget allotted by the restaurant owners on training. L&D is something out of the box. Right? Everybody wants to make quick business. More profits, more profits, more profits. But the team which is driving your business and driving your profitability need to be given more time, attention, and training. And I think it's time for us to understand is that the fear of people leaving because they're getting trained should be out of your head, especially from the promoters. Uh, Even if they are leaving, the industry is growing, and somewhere you need to know what kind of value add you are doing in the society by providing training to people. That's one. Uh, the second is a process, right? A lot of businesses which fail are the ones which are run from personal intelligence because someone thinks that, oh, I can cook amazing food. I love food. I like restaurants. My wife can be an amazing cook. I want to start a business. That helps the business to kickstart and take it to a 1 year, 1.5 years journey. Post that, you hit the roadblock where you don't know what kind of decisions you need to do or take to reinvent or refine the product to create something new and trend setting. So I say that there's personal intelligence and there is scientific intelligence. The ability of owners to not understand data and not use scientific intelligence is the reason why there are so many restaurants failing down. So many of them. Right? And it's sad to see them not doing well. It's just that they want to follow their passion, but the passion also requires a slight bit of purpose to understand why you're doing it, where the vision is. And sadly, that's what is happening. But today, I'm glad that last 4 years, 5 years, there are some QSR brands which are expanding with a larger vision, mission. Some of my friends have created some great Indian burger brands, some momos brand across the country, more than 300, 400 outlets. So yes, I also got a privilege to work in Zomato. So I met a lot of these owners who are QSR chain owners, and they come from expertise where they are using the scientific intelligence. They are getting deeper into the data, peeling the layers, figuring out what works in which kind of market beyond their conditional biases of what people think will work. So today we are getting into a safer space, and I'm glad that somewhere VCs are going to see this, they're going to value this. It's a recession-free business.
I've never gone to a restaurant where the first time I went to Byg Brewski, the staff do this sort of dance. The music
Yeah.
comes on and they stand
Yeah.
around this pond on
in
Surgical
Sarjapur,
Road.
Yeah.
And at first I was like, oh, like this is so sad. Like these poor employees, they have to do this dance. Like it's torture, right? And they have to force the smile. But then I sort of was looking at them more closely and I realized like, no, like you can't fake a smile like that, right? Like it's actually, and they're looking at each other and they're kind of having a good time as a group, as a team, like almost as a family, right?
Yeah. So I'll tell you something interesting, Khaled. When I was working in my first job, and that was in a 5-star hotel, after the small bartending experience,
ITC.
ITC Hotels, uh, hospitality, though it's from India, but in hospitality, in hotels, a fair bit of training was gifted to us by the British. So English is mandatory. Uh, the phraseologies were trained to that extent that how to say thank you, right? That accent. And how do you stand in a restaurant? While it's amazing, but I realized that people then, including me, I was not able to be who I am on the shop floor in the restaurant. You're supposed to stand with the waiter's cloth straight, which was working for some model. But today, it's like customers also want people to be natural and authentic and vulnerability. If you get a space where you're meeting someone who's vulnerable, authentic, that's where the relationship starts. And isn't hospitality all about relationship? So the more authentic you become, the better hospitality you can give, right? Consumers today don't want white glove service. That 5 forks, 5 knives, they don't want it. In some restaurants maybe, but today majority of the customers want easy service, conversations. They want to laugh, they want to chill, they want to just let themselves relax. There was one thing about celebration of individuality in Byg Brewski which I implemented. And I was like, I don't want to create an organization where employees are forced to do something by themselves, even including their dancing. I asked them, who are the people who love dancing? Would you love dancing? I know you're shy. That's a problem which we can work upon together later. But do you really feel that you can dance even in your own home or in the bathroom, wherever you are? If you love dancing, let's create something really nice. And made it very democratic. You choose the song, you guys choose the steps. I am not hiring a choreographer from outside. You guys have to do this together. It's one team. You guys have to create something nice. But those people who celebrate themselves, they should come forward, right? There were girls singing songs. So in Hennur, there was hostesses coming in singing like a band, like no instrument, but they're singing together, three, four of them. Some of them are fabulous. Look at the talent which we have hidden in people who they do not have the platform to expose, but they're just lying. So bring them out, give them opportunities, get them more confidence, let them celebrate who they are, and that's where they feel so happy. If the workplace is super cool, super fun, they're connecting with their colleagues, bosses. I hate to use the word bosses, but seniors. Automatically, your restaurant has a secret recipe. A lot of people have asked me, Pravesh, how does all your restaurants work so well? I think it's so easy, but simple things are so complicated. People make the restaurant so successful. People. Yeah, everybody has good food. How much food can you do? You can't go beyond this planet Earth to create something out of the world. But while you're redefining or refining rather the food quality, but it's about the people who make this happen. It's such a simple thing. Your people are the secret. The more time we invest on people, the more successful the restaurant will become. I can write and give it. It's not rocket science. This does not work like a tech company where you're using a UI, UX and then controlling it from one office. It's on the floor. Some of the best customer service case studies, whether in Harvard or I've seen some courses on LinkedIn, are picked up from restaurants. Because that's where the whole EQ is, not IQ. EQ is missing. Emotional quotient. When I joined Zomato for a year, people were saying, Pravesh has this highest EQ in the SLT, the senior leadership team. And I was like, why? Like, it's such a common thing. I think that is not what we are able to crack, So, how do we look at customers as guests? What is it that they feel when they come to restaurants? What mood are you capturing when they come into the restaurant? A coffee shop has a different mood to capture. A bar, a fine bar, a casual bar, a premium, everything is capturing a certain mood. And only people can add that value. If we crack this code of how we can create memories, you've got the secret, right? So right now in Roxie, we do Italian welcome song. Then we do anniversaries and birthdays into different language, followed by English, right? That's so different. I'm not saying very different. It's just maybe the same thing in a slightly different fashion. For people, they think, oh, wow, this is so nice. And everybody's laughing and dancing and easy conversation and hospitable to make them feel that, yes, you are at your home, second home.
So from 2016 until 2022, Byg Brewski expands. It becomes arguably one of the best known brew pubs in Bengaluru, although it hasn't gone pan-India yet. But it is a very well-known local brand. But instead of continuing that expansion, you actually set something new up, which I think I just visited the restaurant a few weeks back, loved it. I guess it's built around this Italian concept. I'd love for you to tell me more about it and the backstory of this brand, which is Roxie. How did Roxie come about? Where did that idea of starting something new and starting something of your own, where did that come from?
Yeah, I think this is one of the most important milestones I've ever achieved, to create something absolutely from scratch. Because Byg Brewski was Ajay's baby, Social was Riaz's baby, and I was like yearning to start something of my own. When I was working on the cruise ship in 2003-04, my job as a maitre d' was to look after the guests on the ship. I had this beautiful section where every evening formal dining experience used to be offered to passengers. They used to come dressed up in tuxedos and nice gowns and beautiful dresses, very formal affair. World cruise used to be 90 days, and there was this guest who came into my section. And in cruise, when you're appointed at certain table and chair, you have to be at the same table and chair for the rest of your journey.
For 90 days.
Yeah, in the evenings.
And you're seeing the same people coming to the same
yeah.
table.
That's how you build better relationship with the guests and start doing something.
I've never been on a cruise, so I didn't realize it's that long, hey?
Oh yeah.
Amazing.
So world cruises are 90 days, and this beautiful Italian lady who just walked into the section, and I was like, wow, who is this glamorous lady? When I say glamorous, she was glamorously beautiful, flamboyant at age of 65. So she was old, but she had this whole charisma. And she came alone, and I asked her, are you going to do the whole world cruise? She said, yeah, 90 days we are going to be together. So my conversation with her slowly and gradually became very interesting after the dinner service used to get over. She had visited in her youth in India. She had run a cafe in Italy, in Amalfi Coast. So she used to tell me about the service standards. She used to talk about food quality. We used to connect with career-wise, what do we need to do. I used to talk about my dream of opening a bar. And in about a couple of weeks, we started meeting each other outside the ship. So an old lady taking a young lad, showing the world what a beautiful experience it was. There was a lot of wisdom on one side. There's a lot of energy and youthness in me merging together. I was the curious mind. She was the motherly lady who used to talk about different facets of life. It was very experiential seeing the world from the eyes of Roxie. That name was Roxie. Her full name was Roxie Catania. I can never forget. And it so happens that every time anybody talks about traveling, her face comes into my mind. By then I was very young. I did not value too many things which she used to talk about. It used to make me feel there's too much of gyan coming. Every time she's talking, there's too much of gyan. But she was also fun to be with, right? She was very flirtatious, sexy, fun to be with. She used to laugh a lot. And I used to just love the company. I felt bad when the world cruise came to an end, and I did tell her that whenever you get a chance, you come to India. This was somewhere parked in my back of the mind, and every time I used to fancy visualizing her coming to India, and I did not have any contacts. So I thought, post Byg Brewski, which is very masculine, very bold, is there a way I can create a restaurant which is owned by a lady and is feminine, caring, nurturing, trustworthy, and loving? If a lady had to open a bar, which is not the case in the country, very rarely you'll find a lady owning a bar, how would she open a bar? So literally I had to condition myself to start thinking, and there is a very strong feminine side in me. Every man has, the EQ, when we say, the care, the love. And I was like, I need to think about Roxie is me, and I have to design this place up, which is Italian, cafe, open, breezy, upholstery, birds, greenery, flowers, patterned cushions, yet bold, right? So I knew that I am going to create something very unique by itself. And the name Roxy is so sexy, isn't it? It's like one lady dancing, and I don't know, everybody has a different version on envisaging how the Roxy name is, but for me it was very cool and sexy. So I said, suddenly I one day thought, if Roxy had to open this bar, how will she open? If this was her mansion, How will she convert her mansion into a place? And I knew that this is a solid story. People are not used to going to a bar which is having a feel of a lady owning it, but still it's neutral, gender neutral, right? The logo which we designed with the help of my agency, we did not put any lips because we wanted a sort of face which can be resembled and related by every woman. So you have this nice hair, you've got this beautiful face, but there's a mystery in that face. Everybody is a Roxy. They can relate. So if you look at our Instagram, the top stories which people have put together are the hottest looking women in Bangalore. And I'm surprised that how come ladies started relating to the brand so well, right? And it's growing. The whole place is growing with its own greenery, the flowers, the creepers, and I can visualize that even 1 year down the line, this place will look even better. It organically will look more beautiful.
Besides the masculine versus feminine difference, one other thing that I noticed, which is a bit of a departure from Byg Brewski, is the de-emphasis of the alcoholic side or the beer, where I saw on the beer, what's it called, holder, coaster,
Coasters, yeah.
where it says like it's something like it's not so much about like the quantity or the alcoholicness of the beer, it's more about the taste or the flavor, which I really appreciated.
Yeah.
I think it was much more of families, way more women,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's just something that I noticed while I was there.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it felt like very family friendly and just like a comfortable place where you can go and have some good food, have a couple of drinks.
Yeah, so
Not as intimidating, I would
not
say.
intimidating, yeah. Byg Brewski was designed for everyone. And with a fairly casualness. You can walk in anytime with any slippers, 3/4. It's that kind of place. It's a brew pub, right? It's a pub grub food. Opulence was not the word for Byg Brewski. Casual bar, casual brew pub, lot of beers. That's the space Byg Brewski is. And we did very, very well. With Roxy, it was more of little opulence, little grace, little class, cocktails with maybe beers, slight gourmetness, slight, not uncomfortable, but keeping the comfortness where you would love to dress up a little bit to go. I think people do so much of shopping as a therapy because they want to look good, but they need to go to places where they can be seen by a lot of people, not to places which are very dark. Most of the microbreweries are very dark because you cannot hang lights from the sky. The architectures are designed to be open, right? So by default, you are going into places which are slightly darker. But Roxy was a bright place, is a bright place. You, by default, want to click a picture in a bright place. You, by default, would like to dress up. A lot of people who just walked in and said, Pravesh, I think I'm underdressed into a place like Roxy.
I was just about to say, because I was expecting something similar to Byg Brewski, knowing that you've been involved in both. And so I think I literally came in the same t-shirt that I'm wearing now. I was like, I definitely think I am underdressed here. Everyone is looking very, very sharp.
Yeah, I think in today's world, there are a lot of people who like minimalism, including me, but there are a lot of people who also like to dress up. Why not? They want to celebrate life. They are doing some shopping. They need to go to places where they can wear those dresses, especially women. That's why you see more women there. One biggest benefit when women like a place, their husbands are pulled to such places. And when husband and women come together, the families, which is parents and kids, will also be pulled to places like that. So by default, if you are catering to a lady audience, a more women-centric audience, if that's a primary target audience, then you do cater a lot of other people together. Just need to balance the menu offering correctly, which caters to all the target audience. So primary audience, secondary audience, that works very well. So yeah, Roxy is more designed to be for an audience which is heavy spenders, 35 plus. Primarily, that's the audience which comes to Roxy. that kind of food, that kind of glamour, that kind of opulence, which is still at a price point which is pleasantly surprising, is a combination which works really well for Roxie. And I think every Indian who has worked hard to earn that much money and has become financially stronger, socially more stronger, wants to go to such places. There are enough and more microbreweries now in the city. It will grow the way it's growing, but a certain audience is getting bored going to these dark places.
It's already becoming a little bit overplayed.
Yeah.
And I remember, so before we recorded this podcast, you were talking about how Byg Brewski was the first brew pub in Bengaluru to set up this lake concept of having sort of a water body in the restaurant itself. And now that's sort of just like the default, right? Like that's just an accepted part of the DNA. Oh, you don't have a pond? Are you even like a brew pub? Like, what are you doing? So it's nice that someone's sort of branching out and trying something different. It's only been 7, 8 months or so since it opened, right, Roxie?
Oh, actually 5 months, yeah.
5 months. And how's it doing? I think it was a Friday or Saturday when I came over, and it was packed, but obviously that's like, those are peak hours, right? That was in the evening. And this is the first time you're doing something on your own. So I'm curious to know, like, is it exceeding your expectations? Is it sort of like on par with what you were expecting? And also, do you have any plans for expanding at some point down the road? Maybe it's too early to talk about that.
Roxie has outperformed, I would say, better than any of the brands I've handled in the past. And I'm not beating my own drums, but it is the fact that an outlet we started making profits from first month. It's incredible. It doesn't happen in the history of hospitality. It's a great platform for an investor. Money is getting back almost in a year. From the customer side, the product is unique. The offering is amazing. People are saying Bangalore, while it is a pub capital, also has got restaurants which are worth the ones in Dubai, Bombay, that Delhi. That is where the Bangaloreans are now also feeling proud that, hey, guys coming from Delhi, come, I'll show you what we've got. While we have large breweries, we've also opulent bars. Nobody wants to show off, but people do want experiences in Bangalore, which are ideal what Roxie is offering. And I think Roxie has got a huge potential to expand. There are some interesting concepts which is catapulting in my head. It's too early for me to share anything right now.
Sure.
But the next outlet is going to be even beautiful. The concept is really interesting, and it's a brand extension. Looking for places, looking for investors. I think we are blessed with what we did at Roxie. We have not seen this kind of break-evens and return of investments in any of the bars I've done in the past. Any.
That was Pravesh Pandey, founder of Handcrafted Restaurants. And that is a definitive wrap on season 1 of Millionaire Mondays. It's been an incredible 11 episodes. I've interviewed 13 founders who are building in this space, restaurants, QSR, cafes, and now breweries as well. And I feel very privileged to have had the opportunity to do such a deep dive, hearing the stories of all of these people who are building incredible companies in a very difficult industry to succeed in. And I really hope that you've enjoyed these episodes too. And actually, if you're interested in watching all of the episodes of the Millionaire Mondays podcast, this is actually the second season that we've done. So we had a pilot season where we posted 10 episodes in our what we call season 0. And so you can find a link to the entire podcast playlist up here if you're interested in checking it out. And we're not quite sure yet what season 2 is going to look like. We're still figuring that one out internally. So there may be a couple of in-between episodes where the guests that we have on Millionaire Mondays don't fit neatly into a season structure. But if you have any recommendations for people that you'd love to have over on this podcast, people that you think have incredible stories, Indian founders or founders who are building their startups in India, then let me know in a comment down below, and we might consider reaching out to that person and inviting them to come over on the podcast. But as always, thank you so much for watching or listening to the show this week, and I will catch you in the next one.